love for you to subscribe because this channel is all about creativity and inspiration. I hope you feel inspired to create something amazing. Feel free to share the inspiration because life is a journey we make together. And now I'll show you how this unique quilt was put together. I love starting new projects. This is a new quilt that I'll be working on. Paris Forever. Just beautiful. The fabrics, just had to have them. So I wasn't able to get the exact fabrics that it called for, and I had to buy more of some because I had to get them online. So it's just fun fabric, just love it. So I might not be following the instructions exactly like it says, but I'm going to be using this as my inspiration. And some of the widths of the fabric that they suggest I like, but I like to just cut in strips. So instead of, 2" by 44 inches, I know that I'm going to need 4 strips to go around my first panel. So that's kind of how I'm going to approach this pattern, is more in the strips and go around, and if I choose to do something different later, then that's okay too. But that's the fun of it. Create from inspiration. So, isn't this fun? Look at this. Just love it. And it's got the panel in the middle, which I really gravitate to. I'm not quite sure why, but I love panels. I guess because they're kind of easy, and this pattern seems pretty easy. So the first thing you do before you cut is always iron, and that's of course after you wash your fabric and dry it. Make sure that your pinky is off to hold the ruler in place. So here's a trick if you want your seams to continue the pattern of your fabric, in this case the border. Iron it, use some spray starch, line it up exactly where you want it, pin it, and we're going to sew right on the crease. I just love this fabric. It is just so pretty to me. I just love it. I also love how my seams came together right here. I really took the time and made them match, and I think that it'll really be a nice touch. But I'm also needing to work on 4 corners today, and I'm going to be piecing some of my scrap pieces into 4 squares so that I can put them on my next row around right here. So this is what I'm working on right here. And I've got the centers done, and what I'm going to be doing is opening these up, sewing these on, and making a 5-inch square. But what I wanted to show you today is how a neat little trick on how to sew these together, keep them in order, and then sew them on. So this is the bottom, this is the top. I've got them all lined up. I'm going to take them to the machine all at once. So I'm just going to be careful and pick them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, set, and then we're going to move on over to the machine. So as long as that you keep them in order, you can do a running stitch. And just keep going. I think I give myself a little bit room in between. Make Make sure it's straight. And now they're chained together, and I can turn them over and repeat the process. So I can just snip them apart. Then I can actually just take my scissors cut right on that line, open it up, square it up, and then we can sew it on. Perfect. Now this is a very important seam. It's going to go all the way across, so I want it to line up as much as I can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on that first, make sure that that lines up before I pin the rest of my quilt. Now I'm just going to sew right over that seam. I'm really not going to go very far, because if I have to take that seam out, I don't want to have to take a lot. Let's open it up and make sure that it's right where I want it to be, which that's right on. So I'm going to go ahead and sew all the way to the end, and then I'm going to pin the rest and work on the other end in the same way. So my seam is secure where I want it here, where I want it here. I can ease everything else in. And make sure that when you start sewing, that this seam is right where it needs to be in line with this seam. You can even put a pin there to make sure. That way you're lining up what you need. Okay, I'm going to just sew that about an inch. I'm going to take it out of the machine and check it. And if it's not acceptable, you have to do it again. But at least you only have to take out an inch versus 70 inches or whatever. So I'm really pleased with my corners. I really like this technique. It really makes the seams come together just a little bit nicer, and I like that a lot. Love this fabric. Just love it. So I've picked up the Paris Forever quilt from the Quilters, and they did just a wonderful job. So I had it done at Cosmic Quilting. So they did a large meandering stitch is what it's called. And you can see that it's just enough quilting to give you the quilted look. And now I'm working on putting on the binding. Now there's different ways to do the binding, and this is my preferred method, and I just seem to enjoy doing this type of binding. It's a 3-inch strip. You iron it in half, and when it's done, it's just a nice 1/2 inch, just the right width to cover that seam, and you stitch it by hand on the back. And this leaves a 1/2 inch binding around the quilt, and I just really think that that's the finishing touch. And as with any binding, it just really frames your project and makes it complete.